All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Enablement Brew podcast. I'm Carly Lehner.
And I'm Malvina Elsayek, and we're so excited you're joining us for a brand new episode. It's perfectly themed because obviously it's nearly Halloween, and this episode is all around enablement horror stories. We recorded this episode, another episode last year, and we said it's such a fun idea just to talk about enablement horror stories that we're doing it again. We're joined by new guests this time around. So
Yes.
let's go for a round of introductions.
Yes. So,
Tom, over to you first.
Tom, we'll get you started.
Oh, crap. Okay. So, hi, everyone. My name's Tom. I'm going to be cursing a lot. So that's my initial disclaimer for this episode. My name's Tom Charian. I am the Director of Revenue Enablement for an awesome company called Rattle. On top of that, I'm an adjunct professor at the City College of New York. And then if I have any free time left at all, I am a father of 2 girls. So I'm a hashtag girl dad of 5 and 8-year-old, Ava and Mia. So that's me in a nutshell.
Welcome.
Stephanie.
Hey, everybody. So I have one job, not 2, but that's okay. I think we're all busy with that. I am Senior Director of Revenue Enablement at Lupio. Also a girl parent, so that's a lot of fun. And while I am not teaching the youth of tomorrow to help them grow their careers and expertise, Tom, I'm an avid runner. So we work all day in service to others and trying to help grow others in their careers. And then for me, I put on my shoes and I go work it out and process the day when I'm done. So, and in this conversation, I think I'm the only Canadian. So there's my little fun fact to the group.
True.
Love it.
Welcome, Steph. And then Jonathan.
Love it.
Well, yeah. So got these 2 rock stars on with me. Hopefully I can follow up in the same light. So I am currently the head of revenue enablement and product marketing at Symmetric. A lot of fun to do that. And then I also am going to be the founder of GTM AI Academy, which is going to be a blast. I'm a dad of twins, 1 boy, 1 girl. And they failed to mention that they're also leaders in enablement and influencers. So if you're not following these 2, particularly, and you, Carly and Malvina, I would highly recommend you do so because you guys are all awesome. I'm honored to be a part of this. So thank you.
Oh, we're so excited you're joining us.
Yeah.
I was going to say, kids are the best influencers. I mean, my kids can get me to do anything, even when I said no repeatedly.
Right.
Well, look, I think we should do some real parenting enablement on this episode. So if there's anyone watching and they're thinking about having kids, I'll say right now, don't do it.
Okay, I think I'm the only one without children. I'm the only one without children on this episode. So thanks for the advice.
Carly, don't do it. Be confident. You don't need it. Spend your money on vacations, on trips, on your Netflix subscription.
On Taylor Swift. That's what I spend my money on.
Yeah. Do the world tour with her.
I am next year, 2024. It's going to be the year. I'm going 3 times. We don't need to talk about it though. Anyway, but let's get started with what's in our mug, because that's how we start every show on the Enablement Brew, is what is in your mug. So I will kick us off with my fun confetti mug. I have tea. Actually, my neighbors brought this for me. They went back to America. They went to Boston and they brought me Boston Tea Party English breakfast tea. So clearly, the Brits think the Boston Tea Party was pretty funny. And so they brought me tea. It tastes delicious. I don't know why we would throw it in the harbor, but there we go. So that's me. Jonathan, do you have a mug of anything?
It's boring. Ice water. I drink water all day long. So there you go. That's my mug.
Hydrate. That works.
Please.
Right.
All right, I'll go next. Guys, I've upgraded. I'm not drinking instant coffee anymore. Shocking.
Yes.
No, I now just do an espresso.
What flavor?
Huh?
What flavor?
it's just regular coffee, no flavor, but I do put a little bit of white chocolate sugar-free syrup in there, and it tastes delicious. And I have not touched instant coffee maybe for the last 2 months. So yeah, I feel like I've recovered, and now I know what good stuff tastes like.
I am so proud of you. Like, we have come such a long way in the 2 years we've been doing this.
Were you a junkie before? Is that what you wanted?
An instant coffee junkie. There you go. All right. Well, moving on. Stephanie, what's in your mug?
Okay, so last time I was on here with you ladies, I had an Ember mug, which was my new toy at the time. Highly recommend, by the way. Little ridiculous to buy a mug that you can operate from your phone, but love it. Wouldn't knock it down. Today, however, I am with Jonathan. I'm actually drinking my water and eating my caffeine. For those that aren't familiar, in some countries, you can actually get Tim Hortons coffee chocolate bars, which is exactly what this is. So I'm getting my sugar kick and my caffeine in solid form while we're going to do this podcast today.
Nice.
Tim Hortons really knows what they're doing. That's very smart.
They've got the Canadian consumer part on lock. They're like, we need a promotion. What are we going to do? Of course, it's going to be Justin Bieber, Tim Biebs, right? And then that ends. And they're like, obviously, it's NHL season. So how can we possibly get Canadians to drink even more coffee? Let's put it around hockey games. Brilliant. I am now logging into the app every single day and buying coffee like 5 days a week. It's very smart marketing, very bad for bank accounts.
Awesome. Love that. All right, Tom, are you actually having any tea or coffee, or is it what we all think it probably is? Whiskey.
That's probably going to be that. Yeah. I already drank 2 cups. I already drank 2 cups of coffee this morning. And look, you're all going to judge me. I think you judged me before last time I was on, Carly and Melvina, but I'll own it. I drink instant coffee.
All right. I don't anymore.
I don't got time to brew. All right. So I go to Costco, I get my Nescafe instant, and it works. It really does work for me. But I wanted to share this because I think it's really cool. So at my last company, my team gave me a set of these like pineapple whiskey glasses.
That's cool.
Because the thing with our team was like whenever we did anything inappropriate, or if I ever did anything inappropriate, like the safe word was pineapple. And then so we could use that word here. And then this is a bottle of Glen Rotz.
Oh, wow.
18 years. This was given to me by the general counsel of my last company, too.
You've been busy doing that.
Yeah, so this is very special to me. This is a very special bottle. It's a very expensive bottle. But I'm going to pour myself a shot right now. And then, yeah, you guys drink your coffee. I'll drink my whiskey. And that's it.
Tom, I swear I'm not judging you when I say this, but you are on Eastern Standard Time right now, right? So it's morning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey, we're talking horror stories here. It's going to bring up a lot of memories and trauma for us, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing real enablement here, right? Like we're just talking horror stories.
Yeah.
So, Tom, if I randomly say in the podcast or on a comment on LinkedIn, pineapple, it'll be okay. I can just bring
It'll
it
be
up.
okay.
Okay.
Anyways, cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Clink, clink. All right, Stephanie, why don't you kick us off with a horror story of recent memory?
Okay. So this was thankfully not at my current company. And I know last year you had a couple of SKO stories that came out.
Yes.
And yes, these are for me. Listen, quick show of hands. Who likes planning SKOs on this call?
I actually really do.
That's fair. I heard there's people like you out there. I'm not one of them. I don't like planning parties. I don't like planning SKOs. I like project plans, metrics, data, all that stuff. I was doing an SKO a couple of years ago at a former company, and our CEO said, let's do it the second week of January. I'm like, that's a great idea. People will still, be a little bit sloggy after the holidays because many people aren't back until that week. Are we sure we really want to do that before people have a chance to process, the end of fiscal and get ready for what's next? Let's maybe delay it by a week or two. Nope. Okay, no problem. Now, I should note that this conversation happened in early November. So early November, we are just starting to talk about a kickoff that is 8 weeks later. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Deep breath, 8 weeks, totally fine. Not a problem. That's all good. Okay. I'm like, will I get budget approval if I put together options? Because they wanted it in person. If I can pull this off, get quotes, flight prices, all this jazz, because there was about 50 people that needed to come in for this, hotel stays, all of it. If I can do this in the next week, can I get budget approval by November 21st? Yeah, of course. No problem at all. So I work through the weekend. I pull all this stuff together. I'm getting quotes to fly people from different parts of the southern US, from the UK, bring everybody in. I'm like, amazing. I put all my numbers together. I have it from my vendors, all my good stuff. November 21st comes around. Do you think I got budget approval? No. My budget approver was on PTO for 2 weeks. So quick recap. We are now into the first week of December for an SKO that is 4 weeks later. I am just getting budget approval. Nobody has had any travel booked. My venue is not yet confirmed. No. It proceeds from there. By the way, I said I live in Canada. January, Canada, generally not a good time to be trying to get people to fly in. Okay? So go to my leadership team and they're like, what would be really great, Steph? It would be great. I know you're planning this. I know it's a lot of work. I know. I've never planned one, but I'm going to say I know for this moment. It would be really great if we could do it at a ski resort outside of the city of Toronto. Okay, so to recap, we're talking 4 weeks, ski resort outside of the city of Toronto. So you're now talking about getting transportation for all these people more than an hour from the airport, country roads, into a small town in the dead of winter. Cool, no problem. Needless to say, I work all the way through the Christmas holidays, pull all this off, order all my swag, book all these flights, do all this stuff. We got about 50 people coming in. We've got folks staying for 3 days, flying in from all over the place. I go in a day early, set up the venue. I'm like, guys, I got this. I pulled it off. I'm going to get myself a big bonus this year. This is going to be amazing. I stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, rehashing the decks, making sure everything's good, working with the venue coordinator because the room was in the hotel at the ski resort, all this good stuff. Wake up at 4:30 in the morning to my phone going off because there is a massive snowstorm. And when we talk about massive snowstorms, it's all relative. In some countries, that's 1 inch. We are talking 8 to 10 inches within 12 hours was going to hit. So we had flights getting canceled. We had not set up for remote access for the SKO because everybody was physically coming in. We had people who landed at the airport that then couldn't get from the airport to the hotel. And the best parts of all, my AV company, which was contracted to come in to do all my sound and presentation screen, could not physically come to my venue anymore. So I'm on 2 hours of sleep. I'm kicking off my SKO. I'm missing about 30% of my team, including my customer featured speaker that was supposed to speak at 10 a.m. I am wired. I'm a little highly strung. And I have no AV. So I'm now in front of a room that is half empty with no speaker, no AV. And I am physically at the front of the room having to shout my presentation while holding up my laptop to show them said content on my laptop, walking around the room like Vanna White.
Oh my goodness.
So I would say clearly I killed it. But I would say despite that first couple of hours, good news, couple of things. One, everybody had an amazing sense of humor about it, right? People were able to just rally and, come on up. I felt like a teacher at story time. They all pulled their chairs up to the front. We had a little circle. Some people sat on the floor. I had my little laptop from this big grand plan that I spent all this budget on to get these AV people in. And then finally, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my customer speaker finally manages to get there. The AV guy finally manages to get there. And they're like, cool, but now we need to take over the room. So I do what any reasonable Canadian in a snowstorm would do and force absolutely everybody to go outside and play in the snow for for 90 minutes for team bonding. And what I would say is, although arguably my blood pressure and anxiety levels has never been higher for an SKO than it was during that 12-hour stretch from the night before in particular to when that client showed up at 1 p.m. It definitely helped me cut my teeth and I would say earn my stripes in terms of being right down in there in the trenches, from story time to having to pivot to throw stuff at people to literally keep them engaged during the presentation to, just hammering them with snowballs outside the hotel. So that is like my very traumatic horror story from SKO, which is why I'm just going to eat my feelings while we go on to the next person.
Wow.
I am like in shock. Like,
Wow.
that is every possible nightmare you want for an SKO to happen.
I mean, it was a lot. I love how none of you were even knowing what to say in that moment. Did you feel sorry for me? Did I get sympathy? Did that happen?
Yeah.
A lot of sympathy, a lot of empathy. I would have just like, hey, let's just pull the Zoom trigger. Like, let's just throw in the towel, make it virtual.
So this was years ago where that just wasn't an option, right? And we didn't have like this microphone set up in the room for people on Zoom to be able to hear me. So we actually tried to do a conference call because you couldn't Zoom then. We didn't have an account, wasn't a thing. And, they were getting echoes happening and it was just, yeah, seriously, like Skype. But, people are like texting. They're like, I'm stuck in like, Carolina at an airport and I can't install this on. Anyways, it's all good. I survived, guys. But that's my Halloween enablement horror story for you.
Well, you're stronger and better because of it, which is great.
And now I know if they don't give me budget 12 weeks in advance, it is a no-fly SKO party zone is what that is. We need 12 weeks party people to be able to coordinate international travel and speakers and all that jazz. And maybe hot tip, don't do it in January in Ontario.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness. All right, Tom.
Yeah.
What you got for us?
I can't wait to hear
How do you top that?
All right, so I got two stories, and look, I'll talk about this from the perspective of a sales rep because that was my first job in sales, and I'll share this story working for Gartner, where back then there was no enablement, like that was the norm 10, 12 years ago. And this was actually my first role in enterprise sales. So I was on the event sales team, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know crap about events, event sponsorships, booths, signage, whatever. And, when I started, my boss just gave me my laptop. He's like, just read our research, read our brochures and figure shit out. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I was, again, as a rep, that was a horror. But about maybe 3 weeks, Intel calls my boss and they're like, hey, we want to meet and talk about sponsorship opportunities for symposium or whatever the conference was. And I'm like, my boss is like, okay, you're flying to Portland or you need to meet with Intel. I'm like, okay, great. So let's do a WebEx or whatever and just knock this out. He's like, no, I don't think you understand. You're going to meet with Intel at their offices in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. Okay, awesome. So you're coming with me, right? And he's like, no, you're going by yourself. And this is like literally my first proper enterprise, like face-to-face meeting in my career in sales. No training, no prep. And look, I was basically a kid. I'm like 24, 25 years old. I didn't know what the hell to do. So I packed my bags. I went to Portland, Oregon, like booking my first flight on my own, my first car rental on my own, my first hotel on my own, no training to do any of those things. So I'm just like figuring shit out. I didn't know how to dress either. So I dressed up in a suit. And this is not like, I only had one suit. It was like a wedding suit. And like, because you're meeting with Intel, dressed to impress, right? Meeting went well. I met with like the head of marketing or whatever. Meeting went well. But at the end of the meeting, the guy goes, if you're ever going to be my account, lose the suit. Otherwise, you can't be our account manager moving forward. So that was a horror story for me personally, because I learned from that moment in time onwards, no more suits, no more ties.
Do you still have the suit in your cupboard?
No, I'm sure. No, I outgrew that. That was, I have better suits now. I have a better style now, right? Like Untuck It, Johnston and Murphy, all the way. I will more than happily enable my reps on that. But like, look, from an enablement perspective, right? Like we take for granted the stupid, simple things, right? Like just what to wear. Like we assume our reps know how to do these things. And yeah, I don't assume anything anymore. Like, hey, let's spend 10 minutes talking about dress code. So that was traumatic for me. Yeah, go ahead, Carly.
I literally have to do that before offsites, and because I didn't, and we showed up to an offsite, and I was horrified at what some people were wearing out to dinner. I was like, hello, this is a business event. We're not going to the club. And so I had to, like, before a big company all hands, be like, hey guys, like, leave the Lululemons at home. But then I got chastised because apparently Lululemon makes very great, excellent trousers for men. Like, they're not leggings, right? So
colored golf shirts, let's just say, Carly.
Right. So then I had to learn and be enabled on like men's fashion. But yeah, I mean, you gotta tell people what to wear to these things. Otherwise, you never know what can happen. You might show up in a tux to Intel.
Yeah, and Intel's like, what the hell is this? This is, we don't want to do business with the shady guy. Right? So yeah, that was very traumatic for me, and learned it the hard way. From an enablement practitioner standpoint, look, if you've ever like seen anything that I've ever done on LinkedIn or wherever, you'll know that I love doing face-to-face boot camps. And especially at my last company, we were doing like 30, 40 people every month. And we would fly everyone from wherever they were hired to our offices. And it was an intense week of boot camp. I loved it. Everyone that went through loved it, because you really learned from high level to actually pitching by the end of the week, the problem, the product. Everyone was really set up for success. So I will share this story that blew my mind, where we hired this one person who was hired as an enterprise sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
And you would expect this person to have the confidence that, hey, when you are doing a role play, or I call them stand and delivers, and look, it's not meant to be intimidating, but how can it not be, right? Like, you're standing up in front of your peers, right? And typically there's like another like sales leader outside of myself judging you, and you are judged. That's what sales is. You're constantly being judged in every part of your salesman or salespersonship. And this person refused to do the pitch. This wasn't the first person, this person wasn't the first person to go. A bunch of other folks went. And this person became very combative with me. I don't understand the point. I don't know why we're doing this. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? But what I said out loud was, no, look, this is your opportunity to F up here in a safe space. So you're not effing up out there with an actual prospect or customer. So we want you to learn. We want you to grow. But this person, hands down, just threw the gauntlet down and said, no, I refuse to do this. This is above and beyond me. Of course, I told this to the hiring manager. I told this to the CRO. I told this to HR. This person's got to go. If they can't pitch in front of me, what more do you need in terms of validation that this person's not going to work out? So horror story here is that this person didn't pitch. And that was the first time in my career being in enablement that when you ask a salesperson to pitch, and I don't care if you pitch bad, just that's okay if your pitch sucks. Just do it. And then that's my job, right? To make you, but if you can't pitch at all, I can't help you. And that's a huge red flag. And then the other horror story is HR did crap and leadership did crap, and they waited 6 months only for this person to be fired after the fact.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, Tom.
Surprise, surprise, lack of performance. Yeah.
Oh, surprise,
Wow.
surprise.
I think that's like the real horror story of that story is it's like that moment where you're just like, what do you mean you're not gonna like just pretend with me? That's fine, I'll go first. But to actually not have that validated through, that becomes the real, like, if we want to get like gut wrenching of enablement, that's what sucks. That's a horror story right there.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was a good learning moment for everyone, because then I got everyone to understand that like the boot camp program in some ways is almost like a second interview. And we were able to build up a qualitative and quantitative report card of every candidate of every hire that went through the boot camp program with essentially a score of like A, B, C, D, and be 100% confident of like, hey, these are the reps that are going to kill it. These are the reps that need coaching here, here, and here. And here are the reps that we have no vote of confidence in. And at some point, HR finally got a clue and took those report cards seriously.
And then you were saying, I told you so.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of I get it from that person. It's a little bit traumatic, not wanting to pitch or not wanting to pitch in front of your peers. But again, you're an enterprise rep. Like,
Put your
I'm sorry, but I
big
have to
boys
set
on.
the hire.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had a very similar, or I've had that in the past where like we actually brought in someone externally to work with reps and half the reps didn't show up. And then the couple that were there were like, I don't need this. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't need your help. And I was like, what? It's even an external person. Like, it's like, yeah, so everyone has them. But yeah, that's a horror. All right, Jonathan, I'm hoping you have a good horror story because these are really good, you guys. Yes, Tom here.
Two or three we could pick, but I'll start with one. So, a job 2 times ago, I had a CRO who hired me, liked him a lot, but I'd never worked with him before. So personality-wise, he was awesome. Management-wise, he wasn't so awesome. So my first week there, my first day on the job, I was onboarded with I shouldn't say onboarded. I started with a VP of sales. And my first 2 hours, they come in and he comes in and I pitched the 90-day plan of the program. Day one, he comes into me and he goes, you know that 90-day plan? We need to do it in 30 days. I'm like, okay, cool. And then 2 hours later, he comes to me and goes, I need you to onboard the VP of sales. I'm like, what? Okay, cool. And so he asked me to the guy I'm being onboarded with. I don't know anything about the product. No one's told me about the teams. I have no idea about everything's built from scratch. And he's like, hey, you onboard this guy and make sure he has this done by next week. I'm like, sure. So, but that was his personality, where the horror story is kind of like a continuing theme of him coming to me and asking for these year-long projects done in a week. And then he'd usually come back to me in a week and say, I need now this other humongous project to be done this week. I'm like, okay, seriously, dude, we gotta put down and get expectations of what we can or cannot do in a certain time with just me, So kind of crazy. That's the first horror story.
Wait, I have to
Second
ask,
one is,
the VP of sales up for success?
say it again.
Did you set the VP of sales up for success?
Thankfully, he knew it was a ridiculous request, so we kind of onboarded each other just because there was no onboarding program. So he and I both had been in startups before, so I just said, listen, bro, I have no idea what's going on. I don't, you're going to onboard me as much as I'll onboard you. Joined hands, built the onboarding program together, so, which was good.
That's good.
He's a good guy. And the CRO eventually got fired. So anyways, it was one of those things where style just was not long-term. But that's story one. Story two is an event. So Stephanie inspired me with an event story. Not as traumatic. It was for me personally, but it wasn't for the team. It was with that same company. First ever event they did as a team, brought in the entire GTM function, CSM, sales, BDRs, everybody. There's 100 people or so there. And they never done an event before. And I had 2-3 people helping me from HR with like the sound and the lights and all this kind of stuff. But we didn't have anybody contracted to help us. So the day before, all 3 people got sick. And so I was running the mic, running the sound, running the audio. The slide clicker didn't work. So I was on the computer pushing manually slides for people as they're talking. And one of the times at the end of the event, there was this huge investor, this $1 billion company here locally, came in to talk to us. That was friends of the CEO. And I was in the back trying to fix something with something like the lights or something. And he needed to get introduced. So I ran to the front to stop the music and get ready and queued up. And I don't know what happened, but I tripped. And at the same time, someone were just eating food, and they had food, and they turned around, and as I tripped, I fell onto the food, onto the floor in front of everybody, and the CEO, I'm like, fuck. So I had stuff everywhere. I'm trying to fix the sound so the guy can speak, and unfortunately, he was just kind of laughed it off, but I was so embarrassed because I was like a mess, and the audio wasn't working, and the sound wasn't working. It was on me, and it was just a really, really embarrassing thing. But fortunately, the team was very merciful with my embarrassing moment. There you go.
Oh no.
You were finding the chips later in the day, like, oh, it's a chip.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, these stories, like literally horrors. But that's the beauty of enablement, I think. And that's what I love about like our enablement community is like we can commiserate with each other because we all have these ridiculous stories. Because I think everyone, like Jonathan, I just so resonated with your story because CROs, VP of sales, like everyone thinks enablement. Oh, we have one enablement person. They can do everything for us like that. And it's just not the case. Yeah. And so we get these amazing horror stories that we can laugh about after the fact, but they're very stressful when they're happening. But that's what I love about getting together with everyone and just kind of sharing like, man, that was crazy.
I feel like now you get a really crazy request. It's like, you want me to do what? No.
Yeah.
Can we say no? Is that a thing? We can't say no, but we can say no, but I've learned. Like,
it's a fantastic idea. Let's consider it.
Yeah. I love that. It's like, oh, we need to revamp our sales process this month. Oh, at quarter end, you want to change our sales process. So no, I can't do that for you. But what we can do is let me pull some data for you. Let's put together the plan so that first day of the next quarter, we can all be aligned together and launch it for the first day of the following quarter, right? It's the no, but I find has saved my butt many times.
Yeah. Definitely love that. All right, guys. Well, I think that's enough horror stories for today, but thank you guys for coming on the Enablement Brew for our second annual Enablement Horror Stories episode. We are recording this on Friday the 13th as well. So for our listeners, like it's a true day of spookiness for us. It's going to drop on Halloween. So you all are listening on Halloween. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you next time on another episode of the Enablement Brew.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.